misconceptions. We've got truth in our possession. No room for doubt, no time to waste. It's time to put flat Earth in its place. Here comes the Smackdown.
Welcome everybody to Tuesday Night. I'm your host, MCToon, and tonight we're going to have a conversation, and you may have been familiar with Stoops the Cat from Craig FDFE's channel a couple days ago. How you doing, Stoops?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
I am great. So I don't know. I haven't watched the conversation you had with Craig yet, but I don't know what Stoops the Cat means. And I don't know if you went over it, but what's Stoops the Cat?
He actually didn't ask that.
Oh, okay.
But it's just Stoops was my cat friend for 16 years, and I just took her name and used it as my profile name, and that's just kind of what it's always been.
Well, that's cool.
She passed away recently. She was 16, so
okay.
We were like buddies for a really long time. So she lives on, through my name.
Yeah, and so on your shirt there is Stoops.
Yeah, this is her. This is actually an urn.
Oh, okay.
Ashes in there.
And then you want to turn the camera so they can see your pumpkin there?
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Got the little moonlight up there.
That's pretty cool. Around.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, this is so I think Craig found you on X, correct?
Yeah.
And
yeah, I'm a pretty small account. I'm a pretty small account. I've only got like maybe in reality probably like 350 or something followers or something like that. It's like 400, but I know I need to clear out the robots. So it's been a couple weeks. So, but he was fishing around for people to do interviews with him, and I happened to stumble upon it, and I told him I would, and he reached out, and I've probably been in the flat Earth rabbit hole for like a year.
Okay. So
I got into conspiracies probably when I was like 25, 26, but it was just so it started out with YouTube searches, like lizard people. I like David Icke. I like stories. I like fantasy.
You really like David Icke?
Yeah, man, I love David Icke.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He's got into the basic stuff, Area 51, and looking at that stuff, and eventually last year sometime I finally got a Twitter, and then I was just introduced to way more stuff than I'd ever seen before. And so I started hearing about flat Earth, and I looked into that and started following some people that were into it. They would post videos and things, and eventually I was able to find, there were like links to YouTube, and I found my own channels to follow and watch. And I just think it's interesting. I think it's fun to think about. I don't know if it's true. I think they present some pretty decent arguments. And so the reason that I reached out to Craig initially was I realized that on social media, Twitter's the only one that I have really, that I live in an echo chamber. I hear basically the same opinion because we all like the same posts and just the algorithm, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to be able to get feedback from globers or whatever they call you guys. And when I was presented with an argument from Flat Earth, I would like to be able to, okay, well, what's the counter argument to that? Because I don't hear counter arguments in the echo chamber, right?
Yeah.
And so I reached out to fuck the Flat Earth, fight the Flat Earth. And I had some stuff. I told him some proofs, some that I heard, some that I hear more often than the others. to see what his opinion on it was and what evidence he had to support otherwise. He showed me some things. Some of it I had actually seen before. It didn't convince me. I think flat Earth kind of makes sense to me. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I like the lore of it. I'm not sure.
Well, there is plenty of lore. That's for sure. Do you know when Dubay started?
The furthest video back I can find of his was like 3-4 years or something like that. But in one of his videos, he said something about, he told kind of like a story about himself. He lived in Thailand for a little bit, wrote some books. He tried to teach out there. I don't really remember the rest. But no, I don't really know too much about him. But I like his stuff.
Well, his first video was December 2014. So we're almost to his 10-year anniversary of flirting around.
I did not know that.
Yeah. But he was not the first flat earther on YouTube. There's two that I know of that have been around longer than him that are still active. One is Mark Braun, who literally says that he is Satan, and wants people to do a blood magic ceremony so that they can go with him to the North Pole, where apparently there's a mountain and a lake of fire. And if you go with him, and if you've done that ritual, you can jump into the lake of fire with him. So he's got that going for him.
This is Mike Braun. That's his name?
Mark Braun. Yeah.
Mark Braun.
Yeah. Which is good. And then the other is a comedian who started doing Flat Earth as a comedy routine. And he's not a serious flat earther, but he still does have an occasional presence on YouTube. But it's mostly just to sell T-shirts. And he's not an actual flat earther. So
Dubay was kind of like the starting point for the most part?
Dubay was the one that figured out how to leverage the algorithm.
Okay.
I don't know, figured out or just dumbed into it.
Right. Yeah, so. I don't really have any... Craig was very upset when I brought up Eric Dubay.
Yeah, Dubay's not a good guy.
He did mention some things that I did not hear before about some sort of Nazi affiliation, but I have never heard anything outside of Craig saying that, and maybe now you saying that, but I haven't seen anything about that.
So Eric has a song that he sings, and in the song he raps about how much how he thinks that the German leader guy from the leader of Germany during World War II.
Oh, we got to be careful about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was a good guy and didn't do anything wrong, essentially, to that, actually, in the song. And then he was on a podcast. I think it was a podcast by, I don't remember exactly who it was. But anyway, it was him, so Dubay, and a guy named Johnny Giampapa, who's really aggressively in favor of the guy with the mustache. The two of them in this podcast just like hit it off and just couldn't stop talking about that topic during that podcast. So that was that got some people's attention, how overt they were. You know
what? I was curious about Eric Dubay, and I kind of sort of looked into him, but I guess I just didn't really care that much, so I didn't get that far. But I was curious of how he was able to just afford to go to Thailand.
Well, it's cheap. Everything's cheap there. Everything's cheap in Thailand.
Well, he said he graduated college, though, and just like left to live in Thailand. Can you just pull that off? And
well, I mean,
I feel like you got to have some money to back that up.
I'm gonna
if he comes from money.
I'm gonna press X to doubt that he graduated college, but yeah, it's living in Thailand is really inexpensive. So, and being an American in Thailand, you're a novelty, so things are a bit easier for you too.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm sure flying to Thailand probably isn't that cheap, though.
Yeah, but, save up enough money to get on the plane and another, whatever to tide your way over until you can, whatever, make money. But,
he's definitely, he's definitely had probably the most entertaining channel out of all the flat Earth people.
Oh, he puts me to sleep. He's so
He's
boring.
got a lot of stuff. I don't know. I think it's kind of like I get how you could be put to sleep by his voice, but at the same time, it's almost like it's kind of a relaxing thing too. So it's just easy for me to zone out on some of his videos. If you can fall asleep to it, you got to at least be able to understand a little bit. Relaxing, sort of.
Yeah. So do you know what his claimed second proof is?
I don't know them in order. I have a few of them stored up here and here.
So his second claim is that the horizon always rises to eye level.
Yeah.
So now you've watched that video, right? His
The
200,
Bruce video?
yeah.
I listened to it. Yeah.
Okay. So if you watch the video during when he's going over number 2 there, horizon rising to eye level, he shows a series of pictures, and some are video, some are pictures of from airplanes and from high altitude balloons, but none of them actually have a measurement where eye level is.
So I understood. I get that. I considered that when I was listening to it, and I did see the pictures, and when I kind of glanced at it, I thought about that. How do you know the camera's eye level? That kind of confused me a little bit.
Yeah.
But
so in a smartphone,
my question is to that as like, so how high would you actually have to go if a person just wanted to see with their eyes? Like, say they could get up there and they wouldn't pass out and they could just fly up in a balloon and they could do it. What's the like minimum altitude that somebody be able to view curvature on the horizon?
Well, you're talking. Let's stick with the dip of the horizon, right? Rising to eye level first, and then we can talk about the left to right curve. Without a reference, we're really bad at measuring angles with our eyes, right? We need a reference.
They put those things out on the little poles, right? When they do high altitude experiments, they have sometimes they'll have like a little an arm sticking out, like a metal.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of the time that's for, marketing or something to be fun. They're like, we sent
I thought they were trying to do a reference.
We sent a croissant to space, and then it came back and we ate it. They didn't go to space, but it got cold and it came back down, and then they ate the croissant. Whoopee. Or they send up a Lego figure. It's kind of.
It wasn't for scale. That's not what those things are for.
No, because different camera lenses, different zoom depths. There's so many different things that. For what?
So I
for
do want to
scale
talk to you about that. I talked to Craig about that, and I'll talk to you about that in a little bit. I think that's something that's. I think an experiment like that is something doable. But you already said you're going to Antarctica or whatever.
Yeah. So but I have tested Eric Dubay's second claim myself. All you need to do is fly in an airplane when there's a crisp horizon, or when you can see out the window enough to make some sort of a determination, right?
Yeah, but all of the I've been on airplanes before, and I feel like those windows do kind of warp the view a little bit.
I'm not talking left to right curve. The topic is still the dip of the horizon.
Okay.
So your smartphone has an accelerometer in it built in, a 3-direction accelerometer. So your smartphone knows which way down is all the time. So you hold it this way, it knows down. So move it this way. No, it always knows which way is down. So with those accelerometers, you can install an app that just puts a line on the screen that says where eye level is. It was $2 or $3. There's free apps too. And so I did that flying from Anchorage, Alaska to Minneapolis.
What do you mean eye level? Like your height? Do you program in your height or something?
No, eye level is 90 degrees from vertical. So straight up is vertical.
Okay.
Right? And then this 90 degrees, that's eye level. That's what when the term eye level is used in reference to the Earth.
See.
That's what's being used. And this goes back to the 1850s when it first came up by Samuel Rowbottom.
So just looking straight.
Yeah, looking
Like,
straight. But how
straight
do you
on.
know where straight is if you don't have a
I
reference?
see what you're saying.
You need a reference. So I did that, and I can show you what I measured. And so that then we can actually put numbers on it when you can measure it.
Okay.
So I'll show you what.
Because those are pretty convincing. But some of the, I mean, everything that I can see with my eyes, I don't really trust anything I see on the internet anymore, man. I don't care really where it comes
Yeah,
from.
I mean, you can do this.
It's hard for me to trust stuff anymore.
You
but
can do
stuff I
this
see-
yourself. So are you seeing this?
Yes.
So that is out the window, and so the horizontal line across the screen there is eye level, and that circle there is the moon. And at the top, you can see I'm at 35,091 feet.
Yep.
And then below
the white,
what's that?
the lighter shade blue towards the bottom half there.
That's clouds, and then below that is the horizon. So it's not a crisp horizon, but you can see down there below that box that the horizon is down there. So this one isn't showing the horizon. I could show you a different one, but this is the one I took myself. And anybody that can afford a plane flight can do this, provided that weather and visibility is good. I flew to Arizona last January, but it was both there and back was nighttime, so I didn't have a good view of the horizon because everything was dark.
Cool to see the moon like that, though.
Yeah. So by applying geometry, so let's look at this here. Right, so we can do a little bit of geometry on this and see what it means on flat Earth, what we just saw. All right, so here is, I'll draw here, right edge. Then I'm going to draw flat Earth, okay? And then sometimes people forget when I say I'm drawing flat Earth, so then I label it.
A good idea. Labels are good.
Okay, flat Earth. So now here I was up in the airplane. Super fancy airplane. And I looked out across out the window. And so this is vertical, right? Straight up. Right. And then 90 degrees of that, this is eye level. Right, now I can extend that line. My little right angle thing doesn't go far enough. Okay, now how high was I, remember?
31,000.
35. 31,091 feet. Now, what did I see just below eye level? I saw the moon. Right? So the moon on flat Earth could be no higher. The top of the moon could be no higher than I was, approximately. Now, is it reasonable to think that the moon is actually 35,000 feet high? Does that make sense?
Well, couldn't it have been higher, but it was just too far to be able to tell?
No, because my eye level,
You were looking straight on at it?
I was looking straight on, and it was below this line. So it doesn't matter how far away something is. If it's below this line, it can't actually be higher in elevation than this line here.
Okay, that's interesting. I've never heard that one before.
So now, if the moon is only 35,000 feet high, then you got to think there's a couple consequences of that. You could literally just take a helicopter to it. So now Now there's no reason for anybody to doubt that people went to the moon. You could just get there with a helicopter. And while you'd have a hard time breathing without some sort of a mask, you certainly wouldn't need a suit, right? You just have a little mask like they have in the planes that come down. That's all you need to breathe at that elevation. So, but that's
not a perspective. That could be a perspective thing, though, right?
Well, this is an application of perspective right here, right? The angles and straight lines is how you apply perspective, and triangles and things like that. So this is a side view. We call it an orthographic view, and it helps us to visualize from the side what's going on. And orthographic views are how things are done all the time, right? So if you want to measure the height of a tree or a building, right? You go, I was downtown Minneapolis a couple months ago, and I measured the height of the IDS tower, the tallest building down there, by measuring the angle to it. And I was correct within like 3 feet. And I drew a diagram like this to do it and plugged in the angles. So this is an application of perspective. So the moon couldn't be any higher than that. But if the moon's only 35,000 feet high, that things like it wouldn't appear high in the sky ever if you're not anywhere near it, right? You could be, this is the really important thing. In order for the moon to ever appear at 45 degrees high, let's go like this, right to the middle here. This triangle here that I have here, this is perspective, drawing triangles. This is 45 right here. Right? This is 45. This is 90. If this is 35,000 feet, then this is 35,000 feet. So the only people that could ever see the moon 45 degrees in angle would be less than 35,000 feet away from whatever's directly below the moon. But people see the moon higher. They see it much higher than 45 degrees in elevation, depending on where they are on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Now, to be fair, there are a few things that can happen. Refraction exists, and refraction in elevation like this will cause the moon to appear slightly higher than it actually would be. So actually, if we're going to talk about flat Earth, it would have to be less than 35,000 feet, because refraction causes distant objects to appear slightly higher, not much higher in these conditions. If you read up on the effects of refraction, not a whole lot, but that's what refraction does. So somebody in the live chat had pointed out that, of course, refraction can affect it, but at this elevation, it won't work in flat Earth's favor, right? Then the moon has to be lower, not higher, right? And certainly not thousands of miles high as it would need to be to somehow have some semblance of matching stuff. So, that's one. Dubay is counting on you to not think about that. But now you know. Yeah, but now that you know about it, he's in trouble. Right.
Well, I considered that when I was watching the videos, and the sun seemed to be straight ahead and not over, right? And not out of view overhead.
Yeah, and it can't be very high then. All right, so here's another one. Try this. Here's the moon. See this is just like a little Lego moon thing, right? So if I put it right there, it's like the moon is near the equator. It has a slight variation from where the sun goes. The sun goes between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn is where the sun, the limits of where the sun is. The moon is similar. It's not exactly the same, but so it's possible for the moon to be right here. It happens. Now, if somebody is in North America here, right? Somebody's in North America. All right, we'll put somebody here in Indianapolis right there, right? And we're going to put somebody down here in Punta Arenas, Chile, right? Now, what portion of the moon will this person see? they'll see this side of the moon, right?
Yeah.
And the person here will see
that's Canada, though, isn't it?
Well, it's a pretty big dot. It's probably the entire size of Indiana.
Well, I think the green is the U.S.
Oh, you're right. Oh, hold on. Okay, I'll put it there. It doesn't. It's not changing much of this presentation, but okay.
I'm not Canadian. I just wanted to put that out.
Neither am I, but I get accused of it a lot because for some reason people think that Minnesota is Canadian.
You're probably too polite.
Okay, so if you're here in wherever in North America, you're going to see this side of the moon, and if you're down here in South America, you're going to see the opposite side of the moon. Right? You can't both see the same side of the moon, and
right.
And if the sun is over here, let's say the sun's here at the time, right? This portion of the of the moon is going to be lit. This portion of it's going to be dark. So not only will this observer and this observer see a different part of the moon, this observer will see most of it illuminated, and this observer will see almost none of it illuminated.
Right.
But
I think in the flat Earth theory, though, I don't think it's accepted that the moon is a sphere. So what they would actually be looking at in that model, I think, would be the bottom of it would look like a circle, I guess, of like a flat circle. Like it looks like we're looking at the bottom of something, I suppose. But
okay, well, we can test that quick. Here's a circle.
Yeah.
Let me zoom out a little bit. It's my my inductive charger. Okay, so there's a circle, and you're looking at it straight on, right?
Yeah.
Now you're looking at it from a side view. What does it now trace? Is it a circle anymore to you?
No, it is an oval.
It's an oval. So if it's a circle, if the moon is a circle, then every observer is going to see an oval depending on how far away they are, unless they're right below it. The people directly below it will see a circle. Everybody else will see...
Unless it's really high. But according to the
flat earthers don't claim it's really high.
Thing, the moon could only be 35,000, whatever feet you were at.
Well, according to the measurement I did, it could only be 35,000. But other people, that the real problem with flat Earth is that it's super inconsistent, because different people at the same time will measure the moon to be a different height. And so then their answer is like, oh, well, the moon isn't physical. Well, what do you mean it's not physical?
Well,
of course it is.
So
you can look at it.
I've heard questionable things from mainstream scientists about the moon too.
What?
About them being questionable? Oh, that its proportion to the planet is not typical of moons comparatively to other planets. It's much larger, I guess. It's supposed to apparently rings hollow. I've heard it rings like a bell. I guess when they struck it with, you never heard that one before?
No, none of that is. I mean, none of that is unusual or weird or casting doubt on it. But that, I mean, that's beside the point. The point is the claims that of flat earthers and other people that make about the moon, to try to get away from the kind of damning reality that this is what the moon looks like right here, right?
Yeah.
This is what a sphere looks like. That's partially illuminated, and you can see the features there, right? You can see craters, and you can see shadows that the craters cast, and you can see on the opposite side of a crater that's not lit at all in the bottom, right? Do you see like this one? Yeah, this one here, the inside is dark, but then this top left side is illuminated because the rest of the crater is in darkness. But then you've got these other craters where the whole crater is still illuminated, but you've got the shadow on the bottom right and the highlighted on the top left. So this is what a three-dimensional object looks like that has craters. So
Yeah.
so when somebody says, "Oh, well, it's not a physical object," well, it has all the traits of a physical object. In fact, people bounce radio waves off of it. Ham radio operators have been doing it for fun for decades. They call it EME, or Earth Moon Earth. They can, send their voice up to the moon and have it come back. They can hear themselves like 1.5 seconds later or they can send it to somebody else, so they can communicate to people that they could not normally communicate to by bouncing it off the moon.
I've heard of that before.
So
actually, one of the benefits I would say even you would agree with that is before I got into flat Earth, I was not into space. I was not into cosmology. I was not into any of those things. And then when I started reading about it, I wanted to start looking for myself, right? So now I have a telescope, and now I know stuff that I haven't even thought about since I was in high school, like earth science, and now I know the distance to the sun is 93 million miles, or the distance to the moon, or a lot of stuff. I feel like I picked up new hobbies, and I think that's a benefit of sliding into the conspiracy land. But so those things you just told me, or at least it seemed the way you presented it to make sense, but I'm pretty confident that when I show some of the people that I trust personally in the community, I'm almost positive they're going to be able to come up with a rebuttal for it, which I think is part of the problem with this flat Earth debate, because you said you started 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And Dubay started 10 years ago. And I just got into flat Earth within the last year. So if you guys are trying to persuade people or educate people or get people to not go into flat Earth, if that's the end goal, I would say that the flat Earth people, it seems, have the upper hand because it seems to be getting more popular. And
how did you measure? Seems to be.
You're right. Echo chamber could be the echo chamber, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's 8 billion people on the planet.
But they do have metrics, right? You could look up Google data, right?
But there's 8 billion people on the planet, right? And people fall into conspiracy theories all the time. That doesn't make them true. It doesn't make them popular. It just means that people are good at, getting new people into the conspiracy. All right, I need to have some tab here.
Okay. I mean, I've heard about it in the real world too, though. It's not within my community. And I didn't initiate the conversation or anything. So it is out there. And I think there are measurements to see people's interest in it because we have social media and they keep tally of all that stuff.
And the problem is, of course, in decades past, it was difficult to get a message of a disinformation message out to people because there were a limited number of venues that you could communicate to a large number of people. So the people
disinformation makes it seem like there's malintent behind. Do you really think there's people out there that have malintent behind pushing the idea of a flat Earth?
I'm not intending that in saying disinformation.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying the word disinformation to put all of the things that are not correct into that bucket. So before social media, it was difficult for somebody to get out their message that was wrong. But now with social media, the bar keeps getting lowered. When Facebook first came along, there weren't a whole lot of videos and things like that. And even today, Facebook isn't a really great venue for doing that kind of stuff. But then YouTube came along, and YouTube made it easy for people like Eric Dubay to get people that are just kind of walking by to see it. But it took some effort. He had to be good at making videos. But now
his account got shut down a couple times, didn't it?
Yeah, because if he had stuck to just flat Earth, he would have been okay. But he goes off on other topics, and then he gets shut down. So flat earthers do that a lot because they tend to be Flat Earth is kind of the bottom of the barrel. If you've gotten to Flat Earth, then the people are into every other conspiracy almost. So.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's crazy for a content creator to do different topics.
No, but
or even fringe topics.
Knowing what YouTube will accept isn't that difficult. And so then when somebody goes into that topic, knowing full well that YouTube is not going to like it, and knowing full well that YouTube has a history of deleting channels that do those types of things.
Well, why do they do that though?
Why what?
Why do they delete channels?
Why does YouTube do that?
I'm big into like free speech. I don't think anything should be censored really. So
yes, you do.
That's probably a different argument.
No, you totally do. You totally think that things should be censored. Do you want me to give you a list of things that you might say should not be allowed to be put on YouTube or Facebook for everybody to look at?
Speech wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
What about adults doing things with children? Would you think that that's an acceptable thing to just be out there on X, Facebook, or YouTube?
Well, I don't think anybody would ever try to make a YouTube channel about that.
Oh, I think you're completely wrong about that.
Would be willing to make a channel is probably going to realize like they have to operate within the parameters of the fucking law. Don't you think?
You said free speech. I found right away something that you're balking at.
Well, yeah,
right?
Free speech, but you have to still be within the law about things.
Well, what if they're not in the United States then?
Like even free speech, right? You can't do hate speech, right? So yeah, when YouTube, they probably assume people know, no, you can't put pedophilia on here. You know, I don't feel like that's a good example.
I think it's a perfect example.
Okay.
You don't think that it should be allowed, right? You would say if YouTube's like, hey, go ahead, you would probably say, wait a second. I don't think that should be on whatever social media, right? I hope you would.
I don't think I'm going to count that as speech. That doesn't seem like speech to me. That seems like a lewd sexual act.
But the people doing it absolutely think it is. And there are people today that are trafficking in those exact things, wishing that they could have the free speech that they want to have.
So all these free speech absolutists that are like that, you're not down with that. You think things should be censored?
I think everybody has a limit that they say this is too much.
So doesn't society kind of decide that limit as a whole?
Yeah, and
like
then
how we all decided that you probably shouldn't make YouTube channels about what you were just talking about.
And then society, being YouTube is part of society, says we're not going to do that, right?
I don't know what Dubay was talking about, but
this is totally beside. Oh, you mean how he got his channel shut down? Yeah. I don't know exactly what it was, but yeah, it was several years ago that it got canned. The other thing is that YouTube doesn't just blink a channel out. You get 3 warnings.
Got it.
And so
okay.
you know it's coming because you're sitting there with 2 warnings. Right?
Yeah.
And then oh, well, I
don't know if that's necessarily how it happened with him. I don't know the story behind his banning. I don't know how it worked with him, so I can't really speak on that.
I mean, YouTube has policies. These are published.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
every one of us that does channels
getting shut down just out of nowhere.
Just no. Again, it's people trying to give a pity party for themselves. I wasn't doing anything wrong, and they didn't tell me anything. Of course they did. These things are automatic, and there's policies.
I mean, can't people prove those things though? Like their channel was up one day and then it's shut down the next and they have no notices. I feel like there's receipts for those types of things. If they're getting warnings.
But are they going to take screenshots of their warnings so that they can show you later that no, they're going to play the victim?
I don't know.
Right?
I feel like there's definitely unjust censorship out there. Do you believe that there's unjust censorship?
I believe that a channel, a platform that is a privately owned platform can make whatever decisions they want for what they allow on their platform. So
Yeah.
Just would suggest something like the law or a legal system, right? Which is outside of what a private entity gets to choose to put on their own platform.
Okay.
Right?
All right. All right. I got a couple more.
Okay.
You want to draw some more planes
Sure.
for me? Another thing I can see. It appears like we can see too far in the distance.
Okay.
I've seen multiple pictures and multiple videos of them being able to see mountains that are hundreds of miles away. And I kind of brought this up with Craig, and he gave me refraction. But I've seen videos where what disappears reappears when they zoom in, but there's also more distance behind the object, so the horizon's actually behind it. So I find it seems like it would be hard for, if something was actually over the horizon, for it to get the image of it to get refracted so far ahead of the horizon. Does that make sense?
So yeah, there's a couple things you might be talking about what they call the black swan, which is an oil rig that they took during the ideal time of day to get the maximal chaotic refraction.
Chaotic refraction. That one's new. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can see here.
Did you coin that term?
No, I just.
Who did? Somebody did.
I don't know. I guess I just said it right now. But all right, let me
keep talking. Keep talking. I can hear you.
All right. All right. So I'll show the what it looks like a small amount of refraction. So the maximal refraction happens, and the most chaotic conditions are when there's lots of different layers of varying temperatures of the air.
Right.
And so when the light goes through the air, it refracts just like in the glasses, in your eyeball, in the camera, and follows Snell's law, is what's well understood to be how the amount that
eyeballs and
refracts.
cameras like reverse images though?
Well, yeah, they cross, and then you see, our eyeballs see it upside down, and our brains just deal with it. So, but our eyeballs refract the light as they go from the air to our eyeball, and the same thing with the camera, the lens. There's multiple layers in fancy lenses. So, in the air, it's similar. It's vertically stacked usually. So you've got in kind of the base case, you've got cold air at the lowest. And then as you move up, it starts to get a little bit warmer. And the coldest air has the highest index of refraction. And as you move up, the warmer air is less dense. So it has a lower index of refraction. So if you can imagine a very slight variation of the cold to warm as you go up, so that in maybe 10 meters, maybe 100 meters, it changes in temperature by 1 degree, right? Okay. So that's a very slight condition. A stronger condition would be where it changes by 1 degree in 10 meters. And then you can get even stronger than that, where maybe in 2 or 3 meters, it changes 1 degree. And so all of those will cause the arc of the light to bend a different amount based on how much that stacking varies.
Got it.
Then when it's cold water and a warm day, you've got a drastic difference in temperature between the water and the air. And so right close to the water, you've got in the first 1 to 2 meters, you've got a strong variation in that temperature because the water cools the air that's just above it. But then also you've got the sun, if it's a sunny day, you've got the sun coming down, reflecting off the water, warming the air above it. And so you've got these layers of air that are inconsistent and they're chaotic, as I said. So, and without having really, really good measurements of that, which of course is basically impossible because you'd need, a whole grid of sensors between you and the distant object to get the temperature between you and it to really know what it should be like. So those conditions are really difficult to make any predictions about. And so typically if somebody was trying to figure things out, you want to know the conditions. And so if you don't know the conditions, other than we know they're really bad, they're really undeterminable, then that's not the conditions to look at. Right? So let me show you an example of conditions that are good, where you can see a clear idea of what it looks like.
The one I saw wasn't a rig, though. It was a boat.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're similar. It's okay. So here's conditions that you can tell by looking at it that it's not a chaotic situation. You can look at that on the far left there. You can see that crane that's going off diagonal.
Yeah.
See that? It's almost straight, right? There's a little wobble to it, but not a whole lot. All the other cranes, similar things. You can see that they're not looking bent, right? So this is a condition where it's smaller amounts of refraction.
Okay.
Right? And then this is a condition where there's dramatic refraction and no way to know exactly everything between you and the distant object. So you can see the crane on the left on this one is all over the place. You see that? The crane obviously isn't that mangled. This is the actual same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Like a hot car.
Car
on a hot day.
Yeah, the road on a hot day is because now the road's the opposite of the water, though, because the water's cold and the air's hot, where the road is hot and the air is cooler.
But it looks wavy, right? Wavy air.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is a dramatic thing. So what kind of predictions can you make from this? You can't make a whole lot of predictions from this because we don't know the conditions.
So you're saying this is the image that they use to give evidence that they can see too far?
Yeah, they're like, we can see too far. Well, how far should you
see this picture before?
Yeah.
It does look definitely wavy, but yeah, I don't know.
So the question,
the one I saw was a boat, and I also saw a lot of mountains that were supposed to be. I have them written down if you want to know about it.
Well, let's just finish up on this one. This is what is the globe prediction is the question that then is asked for this. And the answer is it's impossible to know because we don't know the conditions of the air. We don't know the temperature. We don't know anything about it. But in this picture, and the contrast isn't quite right, but in this picture we can see 3 different horizons. And in the middle there's a boat. That boat is obstructed behind a horizon. You can't.
I mean, really, that just looks like a lighter, more distant above the boat, over towards under the rig. That still kind of looks like water to me, but like foggy.
But yeah, if you can watch the video though, and this boat goes from being obstructed to not being obstructed and seeing all of it. So like the varying conditions make it so that this boat becomes obstructed and unobstructed in real time.
So I've heard some globe people saying that recently, because one of the things that I also like, other than being able to see things with my own eyes, is math. I like math. I wasn't really into it in school, but I like the precision of it, I guess.
Yeah.
And they say, so the flat Earth community, 8 inches per mile squared, right? 8 inches per mile squared. I got that beaten in my head. But recently, I've heard, I don't know, maybe read a couple posts that say that, oh, they're not even doing the math right. It's not really 8 inches per mile squared. But Craig told me yesterday that it actually is 8 inches per mile squared, but it's not. I can't remember his explanation.
It's half. So yeah, I'll go over that. It's half of the process. So
I see.
Let me just wrap this up here. There's 3 horizons. It's the boat. Then in the left oil rig, you can see there's a gap underneath it and some struts that it's holding up.
Uh-huh.
And then some horizontal bars like right at the water's edge. There's more gaps that you can see underneath in the actual photographs of it. You can actually see, I think I might have, oh no, that's not it.
I get it.
Anyway, up close you can see. So and then farther behind is yet another horizon. So which is the they're all the horizon, and there's chaotic conditions.
I think their point was that it was just their
point is they're pretending that there's no refraction happening at all. But if you're going to say there's no refraction, you can't use that picture because there's definitely refraction. This is the one.
The mountains? Okay, what about the mountains though? I mean, like I'll even give you that one. Like
let's finish this.
Okay.
This is if you're like, well, what should the prediction for the globe be? Well, this is the one where we can actually make predictions because we have a much better idea of what's going on. Okay. So, but you want to see about
there's 2 mountains in Italy and then one in actually one closer to me. So up north, you can see from Indiana, from the dunes in Indiana, you can see Chicago from across Lake Michigan. It's like, hang on, 59 miles. You can see it, and you can see the Chicago horizon. And I've seen what the globe rebuttal is. It's all refraction. But it really looks like I'm looking at buildings, dude. And it just looks like I'm looking at buildings through atmosphere, through like haze. And you could say that, I guess, the refraction, that's what the refraction's doing. But it really looks like I'm looking at buildings.
Well, you are looking at buildings. So what was the distance?
59 miles. Should be 2,400 feet below the horizon.
Now here's the problem. Did you do your own research?
I mean, I wrote all that stuff down.
That's not research, is it?
Okay. Well, that's why I'm here, sir.
Right? Okay. Well, I'll show you what I did. So here's the skyline, right? So I went to the source. I got the Facebook post that he did, which I think is the highest resolution that's available from Joshua Nowicki. Right. But then you said how far away?
I think it was, I might have not done my research right, but I wrote down 59 miles.
It's 53.3 miles. Right. So it's not too far off.
It might have been a different picture. It might not have been that one.
Well, there's a couple, but the problem is that the flat earthers do shoddy research. They never do high quality research. So this is over in the dunes in Indiana, right? And I'll show you the next one where the actual position is. And this is to Willis Tower. So where was Joshua actually at? Well, he wasn't on the shore. He was up the dunes here. Have you been to those dunes? I have. They're a
long time ago.
Yeah, I was at the ones farther north. They're pretty cool. Real steep sand dunes. So, this is where he was, and so some friends of mine watched the video where he took the news station up, and he's like, "This is where I was standing." And so they went and they found that same position. They found the trees that were behind him there. This is the spot. And then how high was he above the water, right? So you see here, he's at 700 something elevation, and the water's at 5.
He was too high, you think?
Well, yeah, he's at 700, and the water's at 500 something elevation. So when you do the math on that, you have to include the elevation. If you don't do the elevation, then you're not doing the math right. And so you're not going to actually get the globe prediction. You're going to get some other prediction. So he's 180 feet above the water, and it's 53.3 miles. So here's the actual globe prediction. Now, flat earthers never do the globe prediction right. So when I go through and I say, well, this is the actual globe prediction, they say, nuh-uh. Well, hold on a second. Who gets to make the globe prediction? I'm the glober. Don't I get to make the globe prediction? Aren't I the one that understands it? Shouldn't I be the one doing it?
Are we talking about the 8 inches per mile squared thing?
Well, this is much better than that. This is because 8 inches per mile squared is an approximation. Number one. Number two, it's only half of the formula.
So wait, I thought it was based on our understanding of the dimensions of the Earth.
Yeah,
the circumference of 25,000, and then the radius, and then all that. That's how they did. That's how they figured it out.
That's the lines that you were fed. Right, you repeated it almost.
That's how math works.
You repeated it almost verbatim, because when you're doing the math, you never use the circumference. You actually use the radius. But you mentioned the circumference. Why? Because you heard it.
No, it was because I was trying to describe the dimensions of the Earth that I have understood.
I know, but
it's 20.
But
that's right?
But to get 8 inches per mile squared, you don't use the circumference. You use the radius. Now they're related.
Okay, but I did say radius.
You did, but my point is that you were just repeating things that you heard. I pick up on them because I hear people say those same phrases all the time.
I'm sure they do say that because you talk about the measurements of the Earth all the time. Yeah. But all I was referring to was what I learned about the Earth. I didn't get it from flat Earth stuff. I got it from trying to figure out what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. Anyway, so here's the actual globe prediction. The globe prediction is that 301 feet are hidden of Chicago.
Okay.
That's about 30 stories.
Now, what is this math? Why is this different?
Why is it? I can bring up this website if you want. We can go over the math in a minute, but let me just show you again. Here's the skyline. Here's the skyline.
Okay.
The prediction is about 30 stories are blocked. Now, do you notice something? There's about 30 stories blocked. Also, you'll notice there's no.
You could have told me there was 10, and I would have believed you. Though.
Yeah, it's a blurry picture. So, how much can you take from this? You can take a blurry amount from this, but we know one thing's for sure: the bottom of those buildings are missing.
Unless you zoom in. What if you zoomed in?
Zooming doesn't bring anything back. And then Lakeshore Drive is missing. Have you been to Chicago? Right? There's Lakeshore Drive.
No. Why?
You've not been to Chicago?
No.
Okay, I love Chicago. Geno's East. Geno's East would be underwater if this was this was the case. But anyway, yeah, on the north side especially, there's Lakeshore Drive, which goes off to exits downtown on the north side, right on the water.
We beat them in murder rates last year.
I don't know if that's the flex you want. Anyway, on the left,
we take what we can get here.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so that is the so it matches the globe. But the question I have to flat earthers is, what is the flat Earth prediction? Because definitely there's stuff.
It's 8 inches per mile squared. That's what they're all going off of.
But that's no. What is the flat Earth prediction? When I apply the geometry, I get 0 feet hidden, no matter what, for flat Earth. There's nothing that causes things to be blocked on flat Earth.
I don't even know if the picture that I saw was taken at the same elevation that yours was. So I really don't know what math they used. But the image was, it seemed to be a lot clearer and more apparent, and it really looked like Chicago. And it was, if you did the 8 inches per mile squared math, whatever, you shouldn't have been able to see it. But
as I said, it's only half of the formula.
Yeah,
you can use 8 inches per mile squared. You can, but it's half. You need to do 2 parts if you're going to use that.
What's the other part?
The other part is the distance to the horizon. So I'll show you.
Okay.
let me
Like the apparent horizon?
well, everything's apparent because you
Well,
can't,
until you zoom in.
even zooming is apparent,
Well, yeah.
right? Because
Then one
because
changes a bit.
how are you seeing it? You are only seeing it because it's light. Light is apparent. So
That's true.
everything is apparent. So everything is through air.
That's also true.
So you have to take. You can't make an observation and then say, oh well, let's pretend that air doesn't exist if it's going to make an effect on your observation. Okay, so here is, I'm going to draw. This is the globe.
I appreciate how much you're trying to utilize that new camera.
This is I've had this camera since April. It's not that new, but all right.
Yeah.
We're gonna put somebody right here. All right. So here is.
Is that me?
Here is this is a dot here, right? This is just a dot. That's not the observer for real. But I'm gonna put a building right here. Okay. Greatly not to scale. There you go. So now 8 inches per mile squared is taking the radius and doing an approximation. So it's applying the Pythagorean theorem is what it's doing. So, oh, I happened to hit it dead on there. So it takes the radius, it applies it. It says, well, from this point that's touching the surface of the Earth. So this on the surface of the Earth, we go straight out from there down to here. So it's making this triangle right here. Okay, this is the triangle that 8 inches per mile squared is calculating from.
Okay.
But the problem is that as soon as the observer is not not on the ground, now they have a whole different view to it.
That's true.
Right.
He's too
So
tall.
now this guy, of course, still not to scale, but what is blocking his view? Well, it's the edge here. And so this same guy right there, if you say, oh, well, it's 8 inches per mile squared. 8 inches per mile squared. Well, this guy should only have this little bit of it obstructed. Right? Instead of this
slightly looking down at
yeah,
the horizon.
because he's hitting, this is the spot here that's obstructing it. Not this, but when you do 8 inches per mile squared, this is
Got it.
this is what you're calculating. So the 8 inches per mile squared is in this diagram is the difference between this little amount here and this big amount here. So how do you actually do it correctly? Well, it's a two-step process. You need one, the distance to the horizon. And then two, the distance from the horizon. It's actually from that tangent point. Right? So it's two steps. This second part is 8 inches per mile squared. And of course, that also presumes that there's no air. So the distance to the horizon is the other part of it. And so it's you can run through the algebra to get a similar formula for it, but you have to do the two-step, taking into account the observer. And then of course, none of that really is useful if you're near the water or the surface, because when you're near the surface, then refraction needs to be taken into account. So instead of 8 inches per mile squared, it's closer to 6 inches per mile squared is the actual algebra for a condition that's maybe more common, But even that isn't absolute, because in those oil rigs that I showed you,
Yeah.
and that's a dramatic, right? That's so far that you can't make any predictions because it's too ridiculous. So, but if it's like, well, here we're looking above water it's not super sunny day, but it's the afternoon. Maybe this is a good number. If it's in the morning and it's overcast, then maybe you could get closer to 8 inches per mile squared for your approximation. But if it's a sunny day and it's the afternoon, or even worse, if it's after sunset, you might look at 4 inches per mile squared. And how do we know? You have to measure the air temperature in multiple spots as you go up, and nobody does that. And so if you don't measure the temperature in a whole bunch of spots, you can't make a very strong prediction.
Well, I mean, I've never heard that math before, so that's something to think about.
What?
I don't know if you exactly sold me on it, but the moon thing, though, that was good. I'm going to look into that one, though. So even if they're okay, so let's go back to high altitude stuff. So if we're at high altitude and I mean, we know the measurements of the Earth. So there has to be an altitude that we get to where we at least be able to see curve from left to right.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
There has to be.
Yeah. Now, an airplane isn't it?
No.
A normal commercial airplane. So that picture I showed of the airplane was 35,000 feet.
Yeah.
That's not high enough to see it unless you're maybe in the cockpit and have a really wide view. That's a bit too low. But I can show you a few things. Number one, you want to make sure you have a good lens that's not adding curve. So when you see, if you've seen the videos from flat earthers, what do they typically show you? A 30-second clip, right?
I don't know. I've watched compilations, so they all kind of look like the same thing.
Yeah, the compilations show you 30 seconds. They're like, oh, look at how flat it is, right?
I feel like I've watched extended high altitude stuff. I really got into the balloon experiment. I was going to do one, but then it turns out it was going to end up being even before the camera. It was going to run me like $1,500, and I just don't have the money for that. But yeah, I watched a lot of high altitude stuff. So
yeah,
I feel like I've watched one that was longer than 30 seconds.
Typically they'll show you a picture, or they'll show you a short clip, and all of them are from lenses that have a large amount of barrel distortion. Sometimes people call it fisheye, but fisheye is not the same as barrel distortion. So it's a misnomer. Doesn't matter. The point is that the lenses that have a lot of barrel distortion, below the center frame, everything, if it's a straight line, it bends it up. And if it's a curved line, it'll tend to flatten it, depending on how much below. And then above the center frame, it'll do the opposite. So if it's something that's a straight line and it's really high in the center of the frame, it'll bend it dramatically. And, a GoPro is fine.
I've seen videos of things bending both ways. I've seen it go concave.
Exactly. And so is that the one to look at? That's probably not the first one to look at. And it's definitely not the one to look at if they're going to cherry pick just a short couple of seconds below the center of frame.
Yeah.
Right. So
Craig made it a point that they were they weren't honest about what cameras they were buying. The flat earthers weren't honest about.
Well, there's only 2 different flat earthers that I know that have sent balloons up.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I wanted to talk to you about maybe while you're out doing your giant Antarctica trip, if you might be interested. And I would, obviously not soon, but I would still like to do a balloon experiment. If what I want is what I would really like to happen is for all of this to be settled and over with. And I hope, hopefully, your Antarctic thing, I don't think it's going to, from what it sounds like already. People are already fussing about it, but I hope it goes well. And I hope this, all of it gets solved. But if it doesn't, and I feel like it would be a good idea anyway to have a more like public community oriented experiment that both globe, whatever you call yourself, globe believers and flat earthers can agree upon the different parameters and everything that you want to use, the different equipment that goes into it.
That's what we're trying to do with the trip to Antarctica.
Yeah, but here's the problem with the Antarctica experiment. I get that, like, the prevailing, I guess, the only one I really know is Witsit. So I mean, it would seem like it is the top personalities in the flat Earth sphere and the top personalities in the globe sphere, but nobody in the community really decided on that. You guys might have, but I don't think anybody within like the smaller, more public community decided that like that was going to be the final say. I get why you think it is. I've heard the argument. I understand where you guys
we've asked from before. Whenever we try to do experiments, flat earthers refuse to participate.
Well, so I talked to Craig about that as well. You're much more polite. I think sometimes it just might be your guys' approach. But then I also realized I've seen you guys go back and forth with flat earth people, and it gets ugly and it gets heated. And I think maybe it's just like to the point to where you're biased and jaded, and they are too, right? And so I think that's part of the problem. But with a more civic discourse, I really think that we could try to get both communities satisfied on the equipment that could be used and where it's done and just everything to do with it, right?
Well, here's let me just show you. I think you're on the right track there. And so how about like you were saying, a balloon, a high altitude balloon?
Yeah.
Right? So
they're expensive.
Here is a flat earther that did this, Dwayne Kellum. And this is his video here. High altitude balloon 24. He did 24 different videos. This is the 24th one. And then he, over the course of 24 different videos, he improved his hardware. So in this one, he's using a Sony A7S II. And the lens he's using is a Sony FE 50mm f1.8.
How long ago was this?
This is a few years ago. So I think this was a fantastic test by a flat earther of this. So the lens he used on that camera, here's what it looks like. This is the analysis of that lens by a third party, by a company, a website called thedigitalpicture.com that looks at the distortion. Now, if you look at the grid lines, so you've got the black and white like checkerboard pattern, and then there's the thinner lines that overlay it. This isn't adding a whole bunch of barrel distortion. This lens is a rectilinear lens. So this is a great lens for checking to see if the horizon is curved or not. Do you agree?
I don't know. I stared at it too long and started moving around.
Well, I mean, you can look at it. I'll send you this on X so you can look at it on your own.
Send me all your sites and sources and stuff, whatever proofs you got.
So, all right. So anyway, you can look at this to your heart's content, and you'll see that this is not adding a whole bunch of distortion.
Okay.
And then we can go to the video, and this will bring us up to when it's right around 120,000 feet. So right there, you can see the horizon, pretty crisp. and it's
Okay.
curved.
Yeah.
It's curved. It's not curved a lot. 120,000 feet with that particular lens.
I see it. I mean, I kind
yeah,
of see what you're saying, but also clouds, you know?
there's no clouds.
There's no clouds. You can't tell if there's clouds.
Do you see those lights on the bottom left? That's the city lights.
Well, I mean, on the horizon, though.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I can see the curve that you're talking about.
Yeah,
I can, but I could also see somebody saying, well, that's just atmosphere, you know, and they're going to throw refraction right back at you.
but
You know
but
what I'm
it's
saying?
it's the same distance through the same refractive conditions, so the refraction isn't an issue in this instance.
Yeah, I mean,
Right? You wanted a balloon.
no,
You wanted
yeah.
you
I
wanted
mean,
a lens, right? You wanted
told you, I
everything
see what you're
controlled.
talking about. It
And-
seems like there's a
And here we have the results
bit.
of it, and you're running into the wall of denial.
No, I'm just saying that people are going to argue that.
I don't care about other people.
Here's why I say that.
Stoops, I'm
That's why I
talking to
asked
you.
how
I'm
long
not
ago
talking
this
to
video-
other people. I'm talking to you.
Okay, but that's why I asked you how long ago this video came out, because I'm pretty sure I'm guessing some other flat earthers have probably already seen this and probably argued against it already.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this? You know this stuff better than I do.
Yeah.
Have you shown this to somebody else before?
Yep. And it's the same thing.
What'd they say?
Making up excuses.
I'm not making up shit.
So here's what I see. It's the same pattern every
Okay.
time. I'd love to see a high altitude balloon. I would love to. Definitely don't want barrel distortion on the lens. That's why I brought you through that.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
So
I
we can
got
both
it.
agree we don't want barrel distortion. And you wanted to do your own balloon experiment.
Also, I don't really know I don't know much about barrel distortion. I don't really know what that means.
There's not
And you
much
showed
to
me
know
a
about it.
checkerboard, and you showed me the checkerboard, and I told you I don't really get. Okay, it's a checkerboard.
I
I'll
explained it to you. Barrel distortion is not
did.
complicated. Straight lines
You
below
did.
the center frame, curve. Straight lines above
Right.
the center frame, curve. Straight line across the middle of the frame doesn't curve. So you get a lens that doesn't add distortion. So you get the same amount of. So straight line anywhere on the frame is a straight line, and a curved line is a curved line. So we've controlled for that. This is a good part of doing science. You control for confounding variables. You say, well, we don't want the lens to be, fooling us. Check.
Yeah. Right.
Right? We want to make sure we go high enough to see the curve. 120,000 feet. Is that high enough? Yes. Check. We want to make sure it's on a day when there aren't clouds. Did it. Check.
It
And
was
then-
nighttime. It
yeah.
was night. It was dark. It was kind of hard to see.
Actually, it's ideal because you've got the dark surface of the Earth and then the light portion behind it.
contrast of
So
the-
you've got a crisp edge to it. It's a really good example.
I just meant that it was dark on the surface, so it seems like if there's going to be an argument, they're probably going to argue about atmospheric conditions causing the curve.
What atmospheric conditions cause the curve?
I'm assuming they're going to say probably clouds.
But there's no clouds.
Well, it's really dark.
You can see the city lights. You see, all these things are
Yeah, but those
are
are
accounted for.
But the city lights are closer in the foreground.
Yeah. So
And
what you're
there's a
saying is
bunch
that there's a mountain of clouds? So think about this.
No, it's
There's a
layer
mountain of
cloud.
but if there's a
No.
layer of clouds that's an even layer across the horizon, then it's going
Yeah.
to all be curved equally or not curved equally. And so in order for the clouds
Well,
to
they're
cause
clouds.
hold
I
on.
don't know what clouds do.
in
but
order
I'm
for the
pretty sure that
clouds
they
to cause
thin
the
out
curve, that would be the suggestion here, is that they'd have to be low clouds on one edge, building up to thick clouds in the middle, and then low clouds on the other edge.
No, I think all you would really need is clouds on one side to give it would appear that there was a slight curve there at the end. Their clouds don't need, they just kind of need to be back there in the dark of the picture where there wasn't a lot of light. That's all I'm saying. And you also told me the thing was years old, and so flat Earth is still around, so I'm pretty sure that didn't
Flat Earth is
satisfy anybody.
The flat Earth is still around because of denialism, which is what I'm looking at right now.
I'm
Hey,
here.
maybe it's clouds, right?
Well, all I'm saying is that video's old. People are still talking about flat Earth. I know that plenty of people have probably seen it because you just told me that you showed people on your show.
Yeah,
and so people have an argument for it. I just don't know what it is.
But it's not a good argument. It's just excuses. Here's another one.
It's not because you're biased because you're a Globey person.
1930.
I'm not necessarily on Team Flat Earth. I'm on the side of figuring out what the fuck's going on.
I think we're seeing a bias here in you. All right, here's another one.
I'm trying to be completely unbiased. It's the whole purpose of me being on your show.
Well, then be unbiased. Here's another one. This is from 1935. This is even a better lens. This is an anastigmatic lens, which is a lens that they use for photogrammetry. Photogrammetry? I don't know. Where they use photographs to measure things. So this is a lens that they use for making maps.
Okay.
And so it's specifically designed to be as distortion free as possible. This is over South Dakota looking to the west. So this is like somewhere near, I don't know, this is the mid South Dakota, and in the front there, we're looking at the Black Hills. Right.
That's cool.
So we can zoom in, we can see this line they added in post when they printed this magazine. And we can scroll across and we can see it bulges up and then it comes back down. Right there. So there's a second example, and we can see zoomed in, they labeled things here. This is Black Hills, you got Mount Coolidge, the Stratosphere Bowl, Rapid City, South Dakota. So now that's left to right curve. That's not it though. Kip Dower-Gertis, just a guy that likes doing rockets. He did this one here. Now you could say that's the curve that's because of the lens, but the problem is that this is bent the wrong way for the lens to be causing it. Because if it's a barrel distortion lens, it would cause the curve to go the opposite direction there.
It's not just upside down or something?
Yeah, it's not upside down. Right, so this is just a bunch of stills from the video that I took. There you go.
But it could have been upside down, maybe.
It doesn't matter if it's upside down. Curve is curve, right side up or upside down. It's what part of the lens of the frame it's on. So if the lens is causing curve, then this is below the center of frame, and the lens would cause the curve to turn into a smiley face. But we're not seeing it go that direction. We're seeing it go the opposite direction.
No smiley face. So that guy from the video, the high altitude video that you got all sore about, that one, when that guy did that, those 24 videos, did he coordinate with the Globe people and do all the camera stuff and making sure everybody decided collectively that this is going to be a public experiment, or did he just kind of?
No, but I completely support him. I think it was great. And he got a lot of support.
Anybody who's willing to put in the money to do that at all.
And he got a lot of support from other people. So here's another one. We've got, this is in an airplane at 46,000 feet. So at 35,000, not quite enough, but 46, you're right on, right where you can see enough.
So how comes you can't tell me how high of an altitude that I need to be at to be able to see curve with my eye?
46,000. 46,000 is good.
46,000? Yeah. Just outside of a plane, without a plane?
Just hovering there? Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just trying to get an idea for the balloon experiment, because that was one of the things I was worried about. And that's one of the things I tried to gauge when I put on social media that I was thinking about doing it. I need to get an altitude that everybody decides on, both sides, that should
it depends,
show visible curve.
Depends on the lens.
Right.
So the lens number one is the lens. Yeah.
Right. And then I realized I was in over my head and I was going to spend way more money than I had.
Yep. The lens is going to be the thing that determines everything else, because you need to have a lens that's not going to add curve. So you have to get a rectilinear lens. But a rectilinear lens tends to not be very wide. So if it's not very wide, you need to get higher to see the curve. So if you have a narrow lens that's rectilinear, like the one from...
Are we talking like field of view? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. This one here. This Sony lens here. That's this one here. This isn't super wide, so he's at 120,000 feet, and it's not very wide. That's why this one here, which is the curve is visible, but it's not overt. Where this
Do you know
one,
how far that is, left or right?
not offhand, right? In order you need to know the details of the lens.
See, that's something else we need to get to, because people are going to bitch about that too. Like a reference point to be able to, well, I don't really know how far that is. So we got to be able to decide how we're going to fucking nail that one down too. Not we. I'm just talking out loud about this balloon thing.
The problem is, like I said, it's already been done. You agreed. There's curve. So what else?
I mean, it looks like there's something there.
What will another high altitude balloon do? It will do the same thing as this one that you're looking at right now by a flat earther. It will show that there's curve at 120,000 feet.
So
Then what? It's been done 5 years ago. This is from 5 years ago.
That guy did that. That's
yes,
why.
he was on Globebusters.
Nobody gives a shit about fucking high altitude balloon 24. Like, nobody knows who that guy is. Flat Earth has taken off so much that it's fucking. Well,
he was on Globebusters 5 years ago.
I have no idea what that is.
At the time, they were the main flat earthers.
Well, I don't know who they are.
So you can't say nobody knew who he was. He was on the show. That was the biggest flat earth show.
What I'm saying is that was years ago, and apparently it didn't solve anything. So maybe you should try to do another thing. Instead of relying on old data, why not try to get more data?
Okay, what would convince you?
Kind of the scenario I was going over. Also, the Antarctica thing. I wanted to ask you, since you said you were going.
Hold on. You didn't. You completely skipped my question.
Altitude. Well, I said the high altitude.
No,
thing
you won't.
Really
we already went over them. You won't accept any of them. You already rejected them.
I said there needed to be different. I said both sides needed to agree on things.
Well,
I said it.
I didn't ask what would both sides agree. I said what would convince you. What would you say? That's enough for me.
You know what would convince me? If I could go up there myself and just see it for myself. Unfortunately, I'm one of those people that don't trust secondhand information. I just don't. So
but you do trust secondhand information. You've quoted a whole bunch of secondhand information.
You asked me what would I need?
Hold on. You got to be consistent. You got to be consistent. Don't say you don't trust secondhand information when this whole time you've been quoting secondhand information.
Okay, fine. I love secondhand information.
There you go.
What would be good for me if I could do my own high altitude experiment and prove it to myself? That would be the number one thing I would like to do.
Okay, you know you're going to see. You already know.
Well, I don't know what I'm going to see because I've seen a lot of other high altitude videos that didn't show that.
No, you didn't. You saw.
I did.
No, you saw GoPro lenses.
Okay, that's
everyone.
That's so funny because that's the argument they use for you guys. That's the argument they use to say for the globe.
But I detailed all of them.
You guys are using the same argument. It's so funny.
But the problem is that I can back up my stuff and they can't.
What do you mean, bro? I've seen a lot of
right
video.
Here. This is the lens.
I watched them.
This is the lens.
I see it, and your video has a little bit of curve. I'm just saying it's apparently not settled. It's not settled. It
is settled because every time it's 100% settled. Because no flat earther will use this lens and say this is acceptable to me.
I don't believe that.
Because flat earthers, they only look at, well, I'll take them. Yes.
Did you ask him, Mr. Toon?
I'm asking you right now, and I'm getting the same answer from you.
No, I would use that if
okay.
That's the camera that you think
there
that
it is.
I need.
There you
I
go.
would use that
there
camera.
It is. Done. There it is. We're looking at it. Will you accept it?
What did I say? I said I wanted to prove it to myself. I'm glad Dwayne did his own thing. But personally, for me to believe something the most, I need to see it and do it and experience it for myself. I'm sure you've had similar experiences and situations where you needed to see things for yourself.
Here, let me show you what flat earthers do. They use this one. You see that one there?
Yeah.
Have you seen this before?
I've seen something that looks like it before yet.
This is the little piggy cam. I don't know why it's called that, but that's what it is. You can tell it's the little piggy cam because it's got that wire. Right?
I've seen a lot of those.
So this one, as soon as I see this little wire here, I know instantly this is the little piggy cam.
But I've seen a lot of those with wires, not just that one. Some of them have like stuffed animals at the end. Some of them tie stuff on there.
But this is the signature for the little piggy cam, which is the most common one I see. Flat earthers love this one. Taboo Conspiracy has it on the thumbnail of bunches of his videos. It looks
like it's curving up on the edge.
It does. Why does he think it's curving up on the edge?
Because the lens.
Because the lens, yeah. But flat earthers put this up. So. Tanner Stewart. Hold on. Tanner Stewart.
Mr. Toon. I didn't do it.
Hold on. Tanner Stewart used this in his documentary. Austin Whitsitt used this in a debate with me. He used this exact picture in a debate with me as flat Earth proof. Taboo Conspiracy uses it. Mark Sargent uses it all the time. But here's the problem.
It curves up.
This is two different parts of that same video.
I've seen it do that.
So if
that's a still of a video when it's
so what kind of honest person would use this still? Would use this and say this is the truth when this is from the same video
right there? That looks like a still of a video I have seen where the camera is spinning because it hasn't stabilized yet, and that's what it looks like when it's going around.
It's the same, yeah. But the horizon is warped.
Like a screenshot or a freeze frame of
it. It is 100% one frame.
Why'd you get all mad when I said it then?
Here's the point: flat earthers claim this is the truth of reality. Look how flat it is. When the very same video has this in it.
Yeah,
and this in it. So this is the level of dishonesty that flat earthers do all the time.
See, that's another thing that you guys keep bringing up. I really, really don't think that most people in the flat Earth community are out and out lying to you.
Well, then why would they use this video?
No, hang on.
Right here. Hang on. Why would they use this video?
Who used that, Mike?
I went over the list of several.
Austin Whitsitt?
Mark Sargent, Whitsitt.
Okay.
Eric Dubay uses it. Tanner Stewart uses it. Flat Earth millionaire Tanner Stewart, who has done 3 documentaries called Level.
Yeah, I saw one of those.
Flat Earth Dave uses it. There was a convention in Florida a couple months ago. This was the background screen while they were talking the whole time. This is used often by flat earthers, and it's a blatant lie, and none of them police themselves to say, wait a second, this is a lie. Why do you keep using the lie? Aren't we the truthers? They're not the truthers. If they were the truthers, they'd say, hey, quit using that. It's a lie.
I think most of them are trying to find the truth.
No, they're not. If they were trying to find the truth, they wouldn't use this.
Okay, so hang on. We started talking about liars, right? And I said that I don't think everybody in the community is a liar. And then you immediately started talking about Austin Whitsitt.
I gave you a list of people that lie.
Austin Whitsitt is not the emperor of flat Earth, okay? So I get your beef with him. All I'm saying is that most people in the flat Earth community that I have talked to are nice people. They are not liars. They are not trying to con anyone. They legitimately believe that they think this is true. So I don't think it's right for you guys to go around calling people out and out liars, like saying a whole community is full of liars, because that's just not true. Yes, every community has shitty grifters in it. Every community has a shitty person in it. and I'll agree with you. I don't trust Dave Weiss. Dave Weiss is a scammer. Anybody that's going to push a cryptocurrency, every video he goes on to, he's pushing his clock app. He looks like a narc. I don't buy it. I agree with you on that. Not everybody in the community is Dave Weiss. I don't know about Austin Whitsitt. He seems like a pretty nice guy. He seems like a religious guy. He's trying to do right and everything. I don't know, but he also has a big channel and he makes money. You got to follow money, right? What are they trying to do? They're trying to promote their channel. Same with Duffy, the pastor guy. He's just trying to do a show. I get it. He's entertaining people, I know he is. Well, he's promoting the shit out of it like it's an upcoming
He is,
event.
but he's spending over $100,000. He's not making any money on it.
That's cool. Like, okay, but also I've looked into Will Duffy just a little bit, but I'm already kind of on the fence about it because just the pastor vibe. In my experience, a lot of people that I have met and seen, they're grifters too. And do you know how much he earns as a pastor? How much does Joel Osteen?
He's not Joel Osteen,
pastor, but how much money does he actually have?
I know what Will's salary is from his church.
Well, I could tell you Joel Osteen.
It's zero.
Salary, but he makes more money than that.
Yeah, Will's salary from his church is zero. He doesn't take any money.
But okay, there's probably a little bit of bias there too.
What do you mean? He doesn't take any. He's on
your side.
But he doesn't. The point is, he doesn't take any money. There's no amount of bias that changes whether or not he takes money.
Okay. Well, I don't trust Will Duffy. I don't think Will Duffy has the right to be the one who decides the final say on things for an entire community.
But the thing is, he's not. What he did. This is the genius of it. He took what flat earthers have been saying.
Will Duffy the genius?
This is the genius of his idea. Okay. He took what flat earthers have been saying for decades, since the early 1900s. Flat earthers have been saying, and before have been saying, here's the map.
Uh-huh.
Right? I'll put up.
I know what you're talking about. You don't have to. The sun.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing a show.
Yeah. They say, here's the map. So, and the sun does this. It goes around in circles, right? And then they say, well, in Antarctica, and Dubay is the one who probably has some of the most dramatic claims about this. Dubay says, in Antarctica, when you're here in Antarctica, the sun sets and it does not circle around, right? So if you're here, the sun does this. So when the sun's over here, right, on the Tropic of Capricorn, over there and over here, right? Then the angle to the sun, when you're looking north, can't be any different than this, right? It's got to be this angle and this angle approximately, right? And then due north is this from the North Pole to wherever you are. That's due north on flat Earth, right? So this is the angle. This angle here and this angle here is how far the sun could ever deviate from due north. So at midday, the sun is here, according to this map. And then 6 hours later, it's there. 6 hours later, it's about here. 6 hours later, it's about here. So the sun has to be due north, northwest, due north in the middle of the night, northeast, due north at local noon. That's all the sun can do. But if the sun ever, and Dubay has said this, if the sun ever does this, where it goes around you and you look south, right? If you look south and see the sun, right? This is my sun analog right here. If you look south and see the sun, when it's here, right? People in Australia can see it. They're like, oh yeah, the sun's over here, right? How could that happen? It can't. And Dubay has said that doesn't happen. And if it does, it's a problem. So what did Duffy do? He's like, oh, well, they've been saying it. And so he went and he found clips of Dubay and Jaron and Mark Sargent and Dearth and Nathan Oakley and a whole bunch of flat earthers saying all of these things about the sun in Antarctica. So they already agreed that the sun has to do this in Antarctica. And so he said, awesome, let's go. I'll pay for it.
But you know what they're saying already, right?
Oh, yeah, they're making excuses instantly.
Yeah, well...
It's telling.
Well,
everybody watching sees
something, yeah, but it's not unheard of for a community to not believe what the most popular people are trying to throw at them, you know? And that's not... I get... That makes sense. Everything you just said makes sense. I feel like that... with what arguments Dubay has put out about, I get why you're doing it, but I also understand why they are coming from the flat earth community and saying that just because the sun is doing this or that doesn't necessarily prove the shape of the earth. The Antarctic thing was a proof, but not the proof. I think is the problem you're going to run into. First, if this is intended to settle anything, you've already lost that.
Well, honestly, the settlement is that the sun sets.
Yeah, I know what the deal is.
The sun could never set on flat Earth.
You know what I thought would be easier? Because on the globe, Antarctica is just there, right? Why don't you just sail around it? Because if you can sail around it, then it's a fucking globe, right?
Yeah, it's been done.
Well, apparently that didn't fly because we're still talking about it. So you're going down there. Why don't you do it again?
It's the problem is denialism, right? So just like you just said, right? Flat Earth say, well, go down and sail around it. Okay, here's some people that did that. Nah, that doesn't prove it. What you just said it did.
No, I didn't say it didn't prove it.
Move the goalpost.
I said it didn't settle it because we're still talking about it.
But the problem is with Flat Earth is that Flat Earth is a religion, and Flat Earthers won't accept evidence that contradicts their religion.
Heliocentrism is a religion.
They do, but they have it backwards. I will follow evidence. So
that's why I'm here, Mike.
If we go here's how bold I am, how much I will follow evidence. If in Antarctica the sun sets or the sun does something that the globe does not predict, I will say that the earth is flat. I will delete all of my videos on my channel. For one that said where I will say the earth is flat, and I'll pre-record that video, and I'll if somebody wants to pay for a lawyer, I'll hand the credentials for my channel over to that lawyer so they can, without my approval, and without my ability to stop it, they can delete all those channels and make that all those videos and make that one video live. I'll do that. That's how much I will follow the evidence. Now, will any flat earther, will you do that? If I go to Antarctica and I give you video of the sun doing circles around, will you say, yep, Earth is a globe?
That the Earth is flat or a globe?
Globe.
That the Earth is a globe? I don't know, man, because what I kind of agree with the people that say that just because the sun is doing something doesn't mean I can't see too far.
But you know we already went over, you see the right amount of far for the globe.
I understand your argument.
Every single one that any flat earther has ever brought up, doing the correct analysis for the globe, always is the same. Yep, that totally matches the globe.
You're the first person I've ever heard break out it's actually 6 inches per mile squared. It depends. It
depends on the conditions. Before. Yeah, and I can. Yeah. And you want the math? I can go over the math.
Look, dude, I understood what you're saying. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to see all these reasons. You know, they've already got arguments for it. If they didn't have arguments for it, I feel like if there wasn't an argument for flat Earth, it would have been settled a long time ago. It's just what it feels like.
No, again, it's the religion. So here's the derivation of the correct amount here.
Yeah, send me that.
Here you go. So this is the experiment that Jaron did. It's a full analysis of it. But here's the formula right here. To get, you see how this is over on, zoom in on it here. See that? 8.0024 inches per mile squared.
Yeah.
See that? That's 8 inches per mile squared. That's the derivation of it. But you see this using K equals plus 0.167. So this K is the coefficient of refraction. So when this is the formula for it. 1 minus K times 5280 times 12 over, I go through the whole derivation in this. 6.67 inches per mile squared.
Got it.
Is a approximation of, if you don't have actual measurements of the temperature, this is an approximation. But using K equals 0.33, 5.33 inches per mile squared is a better approximation.
Yeah, see? Yeah, it keeps changing.
It changes because conditions change. If there were no air, then this would be so much easier. But it's a bit difficult to get rid of all the air.
Yeah, it'd be great to be able to get a hard number on it, because that would make things a lot easier.
But so anyway, this is the can
you at least ask Duffy about sailing around the? I feel like that's another. I mean, you're already down there. When's it supposed to happen?
It's December 14th. What do you mean already down there? No, it's $40,000 per person right now, just to do this, right? And that's, we're not getting on any boats.
Why do you think that is? Just fuel or something? Like, what is that?
It's $31,500 to ALE. So the company that brings us down there, that's how much it costs them. So, and why does it cost? Well, it's we fly a 757 from Punta Arenas, southern tip of Chile, down 4.5 to 5 hours due south, land on an ice runway. They have to maintain the ice runway. Then they cart us about 10 kilometers to the camp in vehicles. Those vehicles they need to bring down there in the spring and take out in the winter, the fall. So these vehicles get ferried back and forth between.
$40,000 a person. How many? 6 people are going?
9.
9 people are going.
Yep.
That's a lot of money.
Then there's tents, there's food, there's fuel, there's insurance, there's showers, there's
So wait, I thought you said Duffy threw up $100,000.
So he paid for 3 people in addition to himself, and it's $32,000 just to ALE. But there's the flight, there's insurance, there's hotel, there's food, there's luggage, there's all sorts of things. Yeah, so it's about $40,000 per person to go. So he's paying for himself and 3 other people. Well, that's not $100,000. That's 4 times 40. That's $160,000.
Yeah, and there's 6 other people after that going.
Yeah, paying differently, right? So I'm funding myself. I have a fundraiser on screen right now. If people want to help, before this stream started, I was at 31,833 out of 40,000. So I'm getting close.
That's cool.
I've bought my plane tickets.
Go, bro. I hope you. Sounds fun.
I've got my cold weather gear purchased. I'm looking at the insurance. I've got a bunch of the gear ready.
How long are you gonna stay down there?
So I'm gonna fly down there December 9th. I leave here, and I'll get back home December 20th or 21st. So I have to take 2 weeks off of work.
That's worth it. Yeah, it's worth it for sure.
Yeah. But my wife has to take care of everything while I'm gone.
Right.
So it's a bunch of effort, and I'm going. So if I don't make up this money here, then that's me paying for that difference there. So.
Well, that's really cool, bro. You seem like an all right guy. You just seem like you've been doing this a really long time and you've dealt with a lot of bullshit. And so you seem kind of guarded about it. And I'm really not here to do all that. I'm not here to like, simp for this or that or whatever. I'm just asking questions. I generally just want to know the truth.
Yeah.
That's all I want to know, because everything's fucking corrupted and lies and just fucking disinformation, misinformation constantly, right? So it's hard to tell what's true anymore. And I'm not really that big of a...
Well, the shape of the Earth we can figure out ourselves. It's like you said, you like math. We can do the math.
Yeah.
And you don't need to trust the government for math, for shape of the Earth. You can measure it yourself. You can measure the radius yourself. I did it.
I mean, I could measure it compared to things that from maps and projections and other things that other people have already measured it with. I would have to use those things. I couldn't actually measure it myself.
Sure you can.
Well, I could use
You can go from first principles. You can measure the shape of the Earth with the radius of the Earth with from first principles. So you need to know, if you're gonna do it yourself, you need to know the distance between lines of latitude. You can do that yourself depending on how precise you want to get. You could use rods and chains to measure the distance, or you could get in a car and drive.
Yeah.
You have choices depending on what you'll accept and you'll find out that because people have been doing this for centuries, no kidding, for centuries, that there's 69 miles between each line of latitude. So a line of latitude is the center of rotation of the North Celestial Pole moves in 1 degree angular elevation. That's how people figured it out. Essentially, it's a bit simplified. Centuries ago. So.
Yeah, the thing I always hear referred to is the sticks and shadows bullshit or whatever.
So yeah, well, so once you know that, then you can measure the angle to the sun. And angle to the sun you can measure in multiple ways. The sticks and shadows is an easy way to do it. And that's one of the ways I did it. I did it 4 different times, and I got 6,371 kilometers, which is 3,959 miles. I got that number myself.
Are you sure you didn't get the number because you were kind of looking for the number, though?
No, I can show you the math. You want to go through the math?
No, I'm tired, man. I got up early, but
it's
you
not.
Can send me the math. Send me the math.
Sure. It's not that complicated. You know how far you are from where the sun is.
Yeah.
You know that distance across the surface. So then you know what percentage it is of the whole. So.
Oh man. Well, you definitely gave me some stuff to think about. Really, the first proof that you gave me was the one that kind of I haven't heard before. So I'm going to look into that.
Do you fly? Do you fly often? I don't.
No.
Myself.
I've flied like twice in my life. Yeah.
Well, next time you're on a plane, do you have an iPhone?
No.
Android? Okay. So I don't know what the name of the app is. There used to be one. It's different. But you can get an app for cheap or for free that will measure angles. And so if you can look out the window and you have a crisp view of the horizon, you can measure the dip of the horizon. And if it's at 0, when you're at height, well, that suggests flat Earth. And if there is a dip, that suggests the Earth is a globe. And the globe predicts a specific amount of dip. At 35,000 feet, it's going to be between 3.3 and 3.5 degrees. So if you measure that angle and it's between 3.3 and 3.5 degrees, that's what the globe predicts. Flat Earth predicts 0. So
wouldn't the app kind of predict that, though? Wouldn't that be like pre-programmed in the app?
The app measures an angle. That's it. It doesn't know where you are. It doesn't know what it's doing. It's just you just say, it's here. You say, well, I'm going to tip up, and so the camera says, or the app says, oh, well, this angle. Okay, I'm going to tip down. It's this angle. That's all it knows.
That's cool. Well, I
Okay.
appreciate you, sir. Thank you for gracing me with all of your globular knowledge. Do you? I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I'm just tired. Do you want to keep? Do you have a certain amount of time that
I
you can
might
take
I
up?
might have some questions from people if you're willing to take a couple.
Yeah, I can do it. Give me 1 second. Let me just run to the bathroom real
Okay.
quick, okay? I'll
Okay.
be right back.
Ooh, all right. PhD Tony says my debate with Nathan Thompson has been moved to this Friday Eastern time. I'm excited for that. I've told James from Modern Day Debate to let let Nathan know that he's soft because he won't debate me. Liquid Flame says conspiracies aren't fun. All disinfo is dangerous. Yep. Whether or not it's malicious, it's still dangerous. So, Professor Phil Bell is short for stupid. No, it's his cat. So I'm not going to ask that to him. Phil Bell. Let's see. Tim Davidson. You do side requests to level up. I do them because video games are the only time I can make everyone happy. We are not the same. What? You do side quests to level up. He's talking about video games, side quests. When I played World of Warcraft, we always joked about I gotta go out and you gotta find some lips and scrotums. You go to the guy at the quest, he's like,
All right,
you
lay
need
it
to get
on me,
this.
sir.
All right. Icy Spin asks, what is the flat earth argument you struggle with most?
I don't know if it's an argument. It's the high altitude footage that really gets me the most, probably. The high altitude footage and the being able to see too far.
All right. Icy Spin talking about my my airplane thing. Ma'am, switch me seats, please. I'm debunking flurfs. I'm looking forward to the 4 flights down to Antarctica and the 4 flights back to hopefully have at least a couple of them be able to measure the dip of the horizon. So, all right.
Why does it take 4 flights?
Here to Minneapolis. Or sorry, I'm in Minneapolis. Minneapolis to Atlanta. Atlanta to Santiago. Santiago to Punta Arenas. Punta Arenas to Antarctica.
Got it.
And then
Okay.
actually on the way back, it's Antarctica to Punta Arenas. So then I go Punta Arenas to Santiago to Atlanta, sorry, to Miami to Atlanta to Minneapolis. So I have an extra hop on the way back. So it's actually
Is it
9.
just immediate flight? Are you going to have time to look around or anything?
Oh yeah, it's about 24 hours from when I get on the plane in Minneapolis until I get off the plane in Chile, in Punta Arenas. And then it's 2 or 3 days in town there before we head all the way
Oh,
south.
that'll be cool. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Mi español es no muy bueno. So I'll be stammering around on bad Spanish.
You'll figure it out.
I was at the post office today mailing a box, and the lady in front of me didn't speak English at all, and she showed on her phone something in English to the person at the cash register, and then the ladies the post office worker's like, oh, I don't know Spanish, and looks up at me. Goes, does anybody speak Spanish? And like, there's one other person behind me in line. That's it. I'm like, nope.
Yeah. I'm half Mexican. I don't know it. I know I could get myself from the airport to a hotel. I know that much.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Tim Davidson, this is a joke, says you do side quests to level up. I do them because video games are the only time I can make everyone happy. We are not the same. Okay. IC Spin says the market sets the price, no demand, no price. Talking about, I think, what might be shown on YouTube if there was zero censorship.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, all right. Mum Bakes Cakes says, can you ask Cat to say... Now, if I say it, then...
It's going to ruin the effect.
Okay. So I'm not going to pronounce it, but I'm going to give you the context. When talking about chemistry and the chemical makeup of something, and if somebody says that sodium is the major and then CATION, how would you pronounce that word? CATION.
Cation?
Yep, that's good enough. Cation.
Okay.
There was a guy that actually read a paper that said sodium is the major cation. And his point was he was getting to the point where he thinks that Antarctica is made of salt. He really thought that. But he didn't read it cation. He claims to be a mechanical engineer, by the way. You have to take at least a year of chemistry, college level chemistry. He read it cation. Sodium is the major cation. I said, what is that word? Cation. What does cation mean? It's a thing. It's the major thing. It's the main. It's the biggest thing.
Made of salt?
Yeah, he thought it was made of salt.
I've heard crystal. I've heard crystal before. I mean,
ice is, frozen water is a lot of it's crystal. But yeah, he doubled down. I'm like, I corrected him, and he's like, "Nuh-uh, okay." Claimed to be a mechanical engineer. Icy Spin says, Mr. Bigglesworth, why do stars spin opposite at the poles? You are Mr. Bigglesworth, I think.
I think, the cat thing probably give away. Yeah.
So in the north, stars rotate one direction in the sky, and in the south, they rotate the other direction around the pole.
Yeah, flat earthers say you're just farther away, perspective.
That's just words, though. It's not an actual application of geometry.
I mean, all things are words.
No, applying geometry is not just words. Right? That's what I was doing on the paper here, right? Applying geometry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember.
All right, you need more rum. Is that what you were drinking?
I've probably 3 deep in this Jameson. Yeah.
It's Jameson.
I'm having a good time.
All right. I'm just on the Toonshine tonight. I'm almost done with the Toonshine. Hold on.
That's a lot.
Oh, almost.
Start a car with that.
There we go. I'm good. Good. All right. Okay. It's not about you. Zoomy Tomato says, what idiot called it a randomized clinical trial controlled with placebo and not trick or treatment? You see, it's Halloween week.
Yeah, that's good.
Good job, Zoomy. All right. Liquid Flame says he defends Flat Earth all night, but claims he isn't a flat earther. You're getting a little heat from Liquid Flames.
I'm sorry, Liquid Flame. I'm just trying to learn.
Okay. Yadawatt says, will the final experiment disprove Flat Earth, at least for you?
Probably not. Probably not. I feel like you guys, honestly, it would solve it more if you guys just...
If you can't explain this, then what?
All that tells me is that the sun, I mean, that doesn't prove the shape of the Earth to me. Like, I'm still at high altitude stuff. I can see too far, seems flat, really looks flat. I get the argument, though.
Okay,
I really
here's what I want you to do. One at a time, so you don't when you find something that you think is a see too far, send it to me. Don't send me the prediction from Flat Earth.
I won't.
Send me the observation. I will give you the globe prediction. Number one. Number two, you go to the Flat Earthers, right? I'll give it to you regardless. You go to the Flat Earthers and say, what is the Flat Earth prediction for how much should be blocked bottom up? And if they don't give you anything, then you call BS on them, okay? I'll give you the prediction for the globe.
Call them out on the math.
And if they refuse to give you the prediction for flat Earth, you hold their feet to the fire, okay? You can hold my feet. If I don't give it to you, right? Hold my feet to the fire.
Okay. I'll send you. Yeah.
All right. MV Rocinante Gold says, yeehaw, pass the ranch dressing. That's from a song. I'll have to play that for the outro. Nugs Automation says some of these guys are scared to admit to themselves they're wrong after the time they put into flat Earth and scared of being outed from their community. Not you, but
not me.
But
that's not me.
That's definitely, I see that, right? Everybody needs.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
what does everybody need? Everybody needs community, right? And so a lot of these people, it's become their whole persona.
Have you seen concave Earth taken off?
Oh, they're worse. Oh, yes. Oh, they're so much worse.
It really seems like the community, at least in the group that I'm in, it seems like it's starting to like eat itself because like now there's this concave Earth thing. And so I'm not sure what's going on.
That's been around about as long.
I don't know. My whole perspective is just stop factioning off. And if we're really going to do this, just globe and not globe. Let's just settle it there. If we're going to argue about it, All
right. Let's see. 3 Ron says, Stoops, Earth's being spherical has been established fact for 2,500 years, but flat Earth is still a thing.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Petapixel. So Leslie sent a link to a wide rectilinear lens, but the link doesn't work. Leslie, send it to me in DM. Make sure it works.
Is it like $800?
That's the problem. They're really expensive to get a wide rectilinear lens.
Biggest problem with the whole thing, really.
Yeah, because it's easy to make a wide lens with a lot of distortion, but to make a wide lens without, you have to have a whole different way that you design the glass. Not a whole different way, but like it's just you're using a whole lot more. A whole lot less glass, actually, because the top and bottom you don't use. You have to use and then you have to make sure that it's not adding distortion. So there's extra layers of lenses you have to put in. It's not easy. Okay, Newton. PJ says the power of nuh-uh compels you. Zoomeray says, ask him why an aircraft flies from Ushuaia to Wilkins in Antarctica and takes off due south. So that's...
I don't know where that is.
So I've already kind of drawn it. So Ushuaia is the southern tip of South America.
Okay.
And there's a base it's in Antarctica. It's around here on this map.
On that map, okay.
But on the globe, it totally makes sense, right? They go south from Ushuaia, and then they get to, somehow, maybe there's a teleport. But if you look at a globe, it makes perfect sense because that's the correct direction to go.
Right. All right. Got my candle now.
All right. I have another stream, people, and I'm going to go over a bunch of stuff from Antarctica coming up in a little bit. So you have questions and stuff like that, especially if you have 4,400 in your name. It'll be interesting for that person. Melodic Lyrics says, I get my ankle pinned back together tomorrow. Grateful to have Tuesday and Thursday to look forward to while I'm laid up. Wow. You also get tomorrow, Craig and I are going to be celebrating our 6-year anniversary. All right, let's see. Darkstar 4400, who's coming up in the next live stream here. I'm going to be covering a few things. Gordian, not Earth. No one knows what's going on. And Icy Spin says, how is MCToon's evidence tonight? 1 to 7. That's to you.
I like the first one. I was like, oh, wow, okay, I've never seen that before. Everything else I've kind of seen the argument before. Minus the math, I guess, the way you broke down the math. I haven't seen anybody do that before. So you gave me some things to look into. So did he say 1 through 7?
I don't know why he gave you 1 to 7.
Okay. 4.5.
Oh my gosh, tough crowd. Okay, Mr. Shonk, or it could be Mrs. Honk, says Toon and Craig sitting in a tree. KISSING. And James B gives me 5 out of 7. So there we go.
That was close.
All right. All right. Well, I have in 20 minutes another live stream.
Oh, really?
But I know you're tired.
I am, dude. I'm
and are you Eastern time zone?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Okay.
I get up early.
All right. All right. Well,
also, this is the second show now that I've ever been on. I've never done any of this before. So just like, for some reason, this is kind of exhausting. I don't know why, even though I'm just sitting in a chair, but. Yeah.
All right. Well, Icy Spin says he has to see the honky tonk. All right. Well, the outro, I think, is what he's talking about. So it'll be better for you. I sent you the link to the live stream, right? You don't have it? Yeah.
Oh.
Like you don't have the live stream running right now, do you? Okay. Well, so I'm going to do an outro song. This is the song that Icy Spin wants you to see.
Okay. I'm stoked.
So can you just pull it up? You won't see it here because I'm not going to share it to you. I can't share it to you how I have it set up.
Yes, I will pull it up.
So,
got it.
All right. Well, anyway, anything you'd like to say before we head out?
I don't think so. Stoops the Cat on Twitter /X, whatever. Follow me. If not, I don't really give a fuck. I appreciate you having me on, giving me some airtime, talking to me, giving me some things to look into. I hope Antarctica goes well. Send me pictures.
All right. Thanks a lot. Everybody else, we'll see you in the next stream.
Bye.
What is a full moon and what is a new moon on your model?
Probably like a magnetic cycle, and just like the center of a barrel cell image of a magnet.
I think it's probably like a magnetic cycle, just like the center of a ferrocell cell spiral. Image of a magnet, it's just black in the middle. It's actually pure inertia, not just a little. In the ferrocell cell image of a magnet, it actually goes into its inertial state, then charges back up. It becomes like etherically displaced. Yeah. You start to see it charge up once more, and it goes back like it did before. Once it becomes like etherically spaced, you see it charge up and take its place. Oh, shucks. Ain't that so? That's how moon phases work, fam. Pass the dresser. In the magnet's heart, centrifugal divergence flies, centripetal convergence pulls. But fine all science, etheric whispers sing, light and shadow blend, magnetic cycles spin, where physics seems to end. In the ferrocell cell image of a magnet, it actually goes into its inertial state, then charges back up. It becomes like etherically displaced. Yeehaw! Grab your partner, swing around, magnetic cycles up and down. Either song in the air, hillbilly science everywhere, cause it's like etherically displaced. Yeehaw! Yo, belly on up to the Wixit word salad buffet. Who has light vinaigrettes? The Jugger Ranch.
Then charges back up, and once it becomes like etherically displaced again, you start to see it charge up throughout a cycle, and then it goes back